श्रीमद महाप्रभु की जय। श्री श्री पंचतत्व की जय। श्री प्रहलाद नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Shrimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 2. Let's try to repeat this. Dharmaha Rojhita Kaitava Atra Parama Nirmatsarana Satam Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapatraya Unmulanam Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Va Paraihi Ishvaraha Sadhya Hridi Avarudhyate Atra Kritibhi Shushushubhis Tatkshanat. Translation. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Puran propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality, distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Hare Krishna. How many of you are coming for the first time? First time? Welcome, Matajis, to our Bhagavatam program. Okay, so for those who are not coming for the first time, question. What did we learn in the first shloka? What was the most important thing?
Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead.
There is one word missing. Only. Very good, Mataji. Only Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everybody else is just an expansion or further expansions of the expansions. So only Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wherever there is a description in Bhagavatam saying the Supreme Personality of Godhead is referred to Shri Krishna and no one else. And this is Srila Prabhupada making a very, very strong statement multiple times throughout the whole purport. So our mood from the very first shloka is we are only and only surrendering our lives to Shri Krishna. Others, we are not worried about. So, continuing from that position, from that level, completely rejecting all pious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Puran propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. When we read Shrimad Bhagavatam, every time when we read, our heart gets more and more and more purified. That's why we always find something new and fresh in Shrimad Bhagavatam. It's been studied for over 5,000 years. People haven't gone bored yet. Yeah. They're still studying Shrimad Bhagavatam. Purport from Srila Prabhupada. Religion includes 4 primary subjects, namely pious activities, economic development, satisfaction of the senses, and finally liberation from material bondage. What are the 4 things of religion? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. When you have these 4 things, it starts with Dharma and it ends in Moksha. It doesn't mean that there is no, economic development or sense gratification involved. It is involved, but it is done in a pious way. Irreligious life is a barbarous condition. That's it. Prabhupada clearly states it. If you're irreligious, you're barbarian. You're not even a human being. Indeed, human life begins when religion begins. Now the word religion, it doesn't have to connect to your faith that you have. Religion means what is your duty. The religion of the chair is to uphold a person sitting. The religion of a table is to uphold things that are placed on top of it. The religion of a flower is to give out fragrance and beauty. The religion of fire is to give out light and heat. So the religion of a person, of a human being, is to be Krishna conscious. Right? So human life begins when religion begins. Eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating are the 4 principles of animal life. These are common both to animals and to human beings. But religion is the extra function of human being. Without religion, human life is no better than animal life. Therefore, in human societies, there is some form of religion which aims at self-realization and which makes reference to man's eternal relationship with God. So a jiva, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Jivera Swarupa hoy Krishner Nityadas. He's an eternal servant of Krishna. So as long as he's not understanding that aspect, that he is the eternal servant of Krishna, he's no better than an animal. Right? Because eating, sleeping, mating and defending is done by animals also. And in some cases, way better than humans. Right? Every dog knows how to fight. Right? He knows how to bark, he knows how to bite, scratch, fight, find himself a nice place to sleep. Finds a place to eat. So animals, they do better than the humans in performing these 4 activities. Human beings, we try to be more and more sophisticated, but actually we complicate these things. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending, it gets it more complicated in human life. Why? You could be just living in the mountain caves, eating fruits and roots, right? Protecting yourself with the means given by the nature. It could be done. It's not that it's not done. But we require a nice, 1 BHK, 2 BHK, 3 BHK flats. We need some nice, place. We need an air condition. We need a refrigerator. Right? We make it more and more complicated. And when we make things more complicated, we are going further and further away from self-realization. If by utilizing all these activities and engaging in Krishna's service, if we get self-realized, then we can be considered as human beings, not devotees. We are considered as human beings. And then once we start and we are self-realized, then we can be considered as devotees. In the lower stages of human civilization, there is always competition to lord it over the material nature. Or in other words, there is a continuous rivalry to satisfy the senses. Driven by such consciousness, man turns to religion. Thus, he performs pious activities or religious functions in order to gain something material. If you are performing dharma, artha comes on its own. You don't have to make an extra endeavor to get artha for economic development. Because when Krishna is pleased by your activities, Lakshmi comes. That's why ISKCON temples are so rich. Because they are focusing on serving the Lord. There will never be a situation in a devotee's life that he will not get his needs fulfilled. His desires may or may not get fulfilled, but his needs will always be fulfilled. There is a saying that if somebody is famous, he always acts upon that he does not get defamed. He's always working very hard. He wants to maintain his status. He always wants to maintain his name. This person is so generous. So he's always doing something to maintain that name that he's always considered as generous. Right? Or if somebody is very beautiful, they always are, always working on that. I was meeting one of my friends. He's very famous on Facebook. So every time when he goes live, he's always like checking himself out, fixing his hair, making sure he looks perfect. Why? Because that's his identity. Right? So Krishna He is the most famous person. There is nobody who is more famous than him. People may know us in our neighborhood. They may know us, up to within our state, within our country. Maybe in the whole world, everybody knows us. But Krishna is known in hundreds and thousands and millions of universes. So if his devotee doesn't get his need fulfilled, who's going to get blamed? It's going to be Krishna. When Gajendra was getting pulled by the crocodile, Krishna ran. It says he even didn't wait to put his shoes on. He just ran barefoot, jumped on Garuda Deva and started flying down. While the speed of Garuda Deva is so fast, his chadar fell off. And Lord Shiva is sitting there. Oh, look at that. He's seeing the chadar falling. And over here, Gajendra is saying, Mula Prakritaye Namaha. He says, oh, the Lord of Prakriti, please come and protect me. So Parvati Devi is saying, go, go, go. He's calling you. He says, he's not calling me. He said, Mula Prakritiye Namaha. I am Prakriti. I am the Mother Nature. I am Prakriti. You are the Mula. You are my Lord. He's calling you. He says, no. He's calling my Lord. And you see the chadar falling there? That's his chadar. He's already gone. He's going to protect him. Mula Prakritaye Namaha. He's going, running. And Krishna didn't even worry about, my chadar is falling off. He told Garuda, faster, faster, faster. My devotee is dying. And Garuda is trying real hard to go. And Gajendra is already up to his eyes. At that time, Lord Vishnu immediately throws his Sudarshana straight, chops the head off of the crocodile. Of course, both of them are delivered. If Gajendra would have died, the people will say, hey, Lord Vishnu's devotee, he died, he drowned in the water. He was calling the Lord. He didn't come. Don't worship him. He's not trustworthy. He doesn't come. Better worship Kali. She appears. No. But Krishna comes immediately. The desires of the devotees are the needs of the devotees are always fulfilled. We will always see, if we are Krishna conscious, we see our day-to-day life and we connect it to Krishna, we will always see how Krishna is taking care of us. Every moment he's taking care. So one need not be worried about these. So once you're performing your dharma, you're performing your duties, you're performing your religion, which is being a servant of Krishna, he will take care. Artha will come on its own. And where there is artha, karma happens naturally. And your desires get fulfilled. But you maintain the dharma even in the position when your sense gratification is happening. That's when you get moksha. So dharma is continuing. Dharma with artha, dharma with kama, and then dharma and moksha. So that's why Srila Prabhupada says, driven by such consciousness, man turns to religion. You have all this big businessman. Bhakti Purna Maharaj was telling us once, sometimes you may see this big, huge showrooms. It's called Vimal. In India, it's quite famous. Vimal showrooms. He had a small shop. And he asked Maharaj to come and do the shop opening and do the blessings and things like that. Maharaj went, he did it. Over a period of 10 years, he was one of the richest men in India. He had different showrooms. So he became, very happy. So he called him again. He says, please again, I'm setting up a new business. Help me. So he did puja again. He became even bigger. Now he has multiple businesses. So why? Because he's performing his dharma. And when you do that, it gets clear. There was one temple, and they invited us for doing Bhumi Pujan for that particular temple, and completely forgot to take care of us. And so Bhumi Pujan finished. They got busy taking care of the life members and everything like that. Nobody asked if we ate something, drank water, nothing. So okay, went back to our room, flew back to Mayapur, and these people were like, nothing happened. And after the temple, the Bhumi Pujan, it was all dead. It's not moving forward, it's not happening. So they sat down and they are thinking, why it's not happening? We had the funds, we have the funds, but now we are having difficulties with the government. And so what happened? It took them 3 years to figure it out that they haven't given donation. So 3 years later, they came and gave donation to Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. A month later, the construction started. Why? Because the dharma was not performed. So even though they had funds to do the temple, they did not get the government permissions. And once they performed their dharma, it's one of the most beautiful temples in India now. So it's very important. Perform your duty properly. Perform your religion. He thus performs pious activities or religious functions in order to gain something material. But if such material gains are obtained in other ways, then so-called religion is neglected. This is the situation of modern civilization. Yena kena prakarena manaha Krishna niveshayat. Sri Rupa Goswami says, by any means, doesn't matter what you need to do, you do to establish Krishna in your mind. Whatever it takes. So the materialist, they do whatever it takes to fulfill the desires of their senses, to gratify their senses. If it is religion, great. But if they get something else other than religion, then they will run towards it. How's the Las Vegas is doing pretty good. They have multiple casinos, right? People go there, pay, and they think they're going to win. They made a statistics that many times people, they die in the casinos out of dehydration because they are so engrossed, they don't know how much time they have spent, and they are always thinking, the next time I will win, next time I will win, next time I will win. And they die because they haven't drunk water. So out of dehydration, boom, they're gone, dead. It happens very often in casinos. Man is thriving economically. So at present, he is not very interested in religion. Churches, mosques, or temples are now practically vacant. Men are more interested in factories, shops, and cinemas than in religious places which are erected by their forefathers. This practically proves that religion is performed for some economic gains. Economic gains are needed for sense gratification. Often, when one is baffled in the pursuit of sense gratification, he takes to salvation and tries to become one with the Supreme Lord. Consequently, all these states are simply different types of sense gratification. But Jananiwas Prabhu was mentioning. He says the form of the Lord is so attractive. He says Kandara Pakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham. Even millions of Cupid, they will not come equal to the beauty of the Lord. He's so beautiful. He says the living entity, he's so attracted to the form of the Lord that he does not mind to lose his own form. He just wants to merge into him. Right? It's so beautiful. But why he wants to do that? Because he wants to be as beautiful as the Lord. But Srila Prabhupada says that is also sense gratification. When you cannot fulfill your senses by different means, you take to religion to fulfill your senses. And then you take to salvation, moksha. But that is also a kind of sense gratification, because Krishna is not in the center. So like previously, let's say 50 years ago, you go to the villages, the whole village would come in the evening to the temple. Why? There is Sandhya Arati. After Sandhya Arati, the priest in the temple would read Shrimad Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, Ramayana. They would read some religious shastra. And then if the whole village sits and listens, that was their get together, that was their ways of spending time, socializing. But now we don't need all those things because we have a smartphone. Two people in the house, they are both using smartphones. Right? So that's why people are not religious anymore. They're becoming more and more sense gratifiers. And that is the present situation, Srila Prabhupada says. In the Vedas, the above mentioned 4 activities are prescribed in regulative ways, so that there will not be any undue competition for sense gratification. You want to perform sense gratification? No problem. You do it in this particular way. You want to satisfy your tongue. Want to eat something very nice, tasty, delicious, no problem. On Sunday you come to Bhaktavatsa Prabhu's house, attend the Bhagavatam class, and then and after that you can eat nice prasad. You want to dance and music. There was one very nice incident happened in Chaupadi temple in Mumbai. There was one devotee preaching, and he invited invited one of the life members. Please come over to the temple on Sunday. We'll have a nice Sunday program. He says, no, not this Sunday. I can't come. I said, why? He says, I'm going to RG disco. So because of that, I'm not interested. He says, why don't you try? We also have a RG disco, Radha Gopinath disco. He said, you should come. We have an RG disco over there. Like, what, really? Like, yeah, come. And he comes over there. He sits for the Bhagavatam class and he's like, okay, listening something. And then after the Bhagavatam class, the kirtan happens. And there's ecstatic kirtan and he's going crazy. Dancing. He's dancing till he can't dance anymore, and he sees the devotees are still dancing. Says, how did these people have so much energy? And once that is done, they sit him down for prasadam, and he eats and eats and eats. And he's like, this is much better than the RG disco I go for. Over there we got to pay to dance, to drink, and we don't get any food. But this place is better. So that's how he gave up going to disco, and then he started coming every Sunday over to the temple. Right? He joined in as a sense gratifier, but that purified his senses. Then he is he's a regular devotee in the temple now. There was once a thief. He's stealing in the village, and at one time he stole a nice amount of things, and he was very tired. He was carrying a heavy load, and he saw a temple at a distance. So he went into the temple, and he saw it's completely empty. It's in the middle of the night. It's kind of remote area. So he said, okay, let me just take some rest in this place. So he lied down. And while lying down, he sees it's a Lord Shiva temple. So there is this golden pot on top of Lord Shiva, the Shivalinga, which drops water. There's a golden pot there. So it's like, wow, this is amazing. This has been the best thievery of my life. I got a lot of things from the village, and in this remote temple where nobody is there, there's a golden pot. I'm going to steal this as well. So he's looking around, because that's a little bit at a height, so he's looking around where I can get something, to stand on and get the pot. And he's looking, can't find anything. He says, well, what to do? There is nobody here. I'll just step on the Shivalinga and get the pot. Okay, great. So he goes and stands on the Shivalinga, takes the pot down, and he's very happy. Turns around, and there is a huge, dark, black man standing with a stick. He says, oh, I'm really sorry, please forgive me. I will never do this again. I will run away. I never even come to this temple. I never come to this village. Whatever I've stolen is all yours. Leave me. Don't kill me. He says, I'm so pleased. He's like, what? He says, you can take it. I'm just so happy. He says, are you a thief also? He says, no. He says, who are you? He says, I'm Lord Shiva. He says, no, you can't be Lord Shiva. He says, no, I'm Lord Shiva. He says, I'm so pleased with you. Ask for any benediction you want. And he's like, okay, I don't understand what's going on here. I just stole the pot which was on top of you, and you are saying that you are so pleased with me. Can you explain why are you so pleased with me? He says, devotees come here every day, and they offer milk, they offer water, they offer some, bay leaves, some flowers on my head. You offered yourself. So I'm so pleased. You can ask for anything you want. The thief had an enlightenment. He says, I came here to steal. I had no intention of performing devotional service. But the Lord is so merciful that even He took my act of sin as an offering. What will I get if I actually perform devotional service and please Him? So he says, my Lord, please forgive me. I have been a sinner my whole life. You have been so merciful upon me. Please tell me, what can I do for you that will please you the most? Lord Shiva says, are you sure you want to do something that will please me the most? He said, yes, my Lord. You're so merciful. I only had heard that you are so beautiful. So merciful. But today I'm observing it, that I stepped on you, and you are saying that you offered yourself to me. Please, I want to do something that will please you the most. Lord Shiva said, become a Krishna Bhakta. You become a devotee to Lord Krishna. That will please me the most. And he asked, how can I become Krishna Bhakta? So Mahadev, he taught him how he can go become a devotee. And then he became one of the great devotees. So any activity you perform, you can please Krishna. In the Vedas, the above mentioned 4 activities are prescribed in the regulative way, so that there will be no undue competition for sense gratification. But Shrimad Bhagavatam is transcendental to all these sense gratificatory activities. It is purely transcendental literature, which can be understood only by pure devotees of the Lord who are transcendental to competitive sense gratification. In the material world, there is keen competition between animal and animal, man and man, community and community, nation and nation. But the devotees of the Lord rise above such competitions. They do not compete with materialistic because they are on the path back to Godhead, where life is eternal and blissful. They don't care about competitions. This person, this whole big Vijay, he had conquered the scholars all over the world. They told him, you consider yourself the great Pandit? Forget it. As long as you don't defeat Rupa Goswami, you can't even consider yourself as a scholar. Defeat Rupa Goswami, then you can entitle yourself as a great, as a Digvijay, means the scholars among all scholars. So he comes to Vrindavan. He comes and he wants to meet Rupa Goswami. He comes and sees her. He says, are you Sri Rupa Goswami? He says, yes. He says, I want to compete with you in relation to Shastra. Rupa Goswami said, sorry, I don't have time. He said, then accept defeat. He had 27 large bullock carts filled with papers signed by Brahmins saying that they were defeated by him. Generally, those leaves were that big. Right? And he had 27 bullock carts loaded with these papers. So he said, you write, you give it to me in written that yes, I have defeated you. You are defeated by me. Rupa Goswami said, yeah, come. Here, take. Yes, me, Rupa Goswami, has been defeated by this such and such scholar. So he goes all over brush. Look, I have defeated Rupa Goswami. Now I am the most scholarly person in the entire world. Jiva Goswami hears about it. He says, you don't even equal to the dust of the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami. He just doesn't want to compete with you because you are a materialistic person. He is on the path back to Godhead. He doesn't want to waste his time. But I am his disciple. I am a particle of dust at his lotus feet. You think you can defeat Rupa Goswami? Try me. He says, try me. He says, yeah, sure, what is the big deal? Sits there, thrashed by Srila Jiva Goswami. Completely thrashed by him. He looks humbled. He says, I'm so sorry. He says, and I am only a particle of dust at the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami. Never even dare to say that you have defeated Rupa Goswami. Yes. And all the Brajavasis, they are glorifying Jiva Goswami. Says, you have done such an excellent job. Defeated, completely destroyed the pride of the scholar. Someone came up to Rupa Goswami and said, Rupa Goswami, your disciple Jiva Goswami has defeated the scholar who came to argue with you. He says, what? Called Jiva Goswami. Says, you have become arrogant. You are not qualified to live in Braja. You are too proud of your knowledge. Get out of Braja. Threw him out. Jiva Goswami was in Mathura, in one of the caves on the banks of Yamuna. No eating, no drinking, just chanting japa. Sanatana Goswami, he is a very interesting person. He's a Babaji, right? But he had to go around Braja to, clarify the problems of husbands and wife in Braja. Whenever they would have a big fight, they would call Sanatana Goswami. And he would go, okay, what's the problem? Oh, she's like that. Oh, he's like that. Oh, she's like that. And then he would settle it down and protect their Grihastha ashram. So Sanatana Goswami was coming back and he saw some, effulgence coming out of this cave. He went there and he saw Jiva Goswami there. He says, Jiva, what are you doing here? He says, I'm an arrogant person. I'm too proud of my knowledge. He says, I've been ordered by my guru to leave Vraja That's why I'm here. Oh, okay. Comes to Rupa Goswami. I think the boy has learned his lesson. Call him back. Calls him back. Falls at the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami. Please forgive me. After some time, another scholar shows up. Hey, Rupa Goswami, I want to argue with you. Sorry, I'm defeated by you. Jiva Goswami, come here, you rascal. You're saying you're defeated my guru. Come here. Defeats him. Jiva Goswami is like, get out of here. Rupa Goswami tells Jiva Goswami. And Jiva Goswami is again thrown out. Sanatana Goswami, I haven't seen Jiva Goswami for a long time. Where is he? He says, oh, he's been thrown out. And goes and sees Jiva Goswami. He's again chanting Hare Krishna, he's chanting. Comes up to Rupa Goswami. I don't think you are following the instruction of our Guru Maharaj properly. Huh? What did I do? So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered all 6 of us to stay in Braja. And you are throwing Jiva Goswami out. You are not following the instructions of your Guru. Oh, I'm so sorry. Call him back immediately. The purpose of saying the story is, Jiva Goswami. He says, oh sorry, I don't have time. I'm defeated by you. Here, take. On the path of back home, back to Godhead, we don't have time for this. Because we only have very short life period. And in this very short life period, we have to cut the knots of attachment which have become more and more tight over millions of years. You have to cut out all these knots. And once we have cut out all those knots of attachment, we have become detached from the material world. We need to attach our attachments to Krishna. So cut the knots of material world and tie knots to the spiritual world. Because detachment can only take us up to Brahma Jyoti. It cannot take us inside Vaikuntha. To enter Vaikuntha, we have to have attachment towards Krishna. That's called Nishtha. Once we have Nishtha, then we can talk about going back home, back to Godhead. Before that, we don't. So that's why Srila Prabhupada says we don't care for all this materialistic competitions. They do not compete with materialists because they are on the path back to Godhead where life is eternal and blissful. Such transcendentalists are non-envious and pure in heart. In material world, everyone is envious of everyone else, and therefore there is competition. But the transcendental devotees of the Lord are not only free from material envy, but are well-wishers to everyone. And they strive to establish a competition-less society with God in the center. The contemporary socialist conception of a competition-less society is artificial because in the socialist state there is competition for the post of dictator. They're talking about, no, we don't want competition, we're all equal, we want to be. Yeah, but you want to be the dictator. You want to be the head of that community. So what are you talking about? From the point of view of the Vedas or from the point of view of common human activities, sense gratification is the basis of material life. There are 3 parts mentioned in the Vedas. One involves fruitive activities to gain promotion to better planets. Another involves worship different demigods for the promotion to the planets of the demigods. And another involves realizing the absolute truth and his impersonal feature and becoming one with him. There are 3 parts in the materialistic point of view. You're performing your sense gratification, or you worship demigods and get better sense gratification, or you worship the Supreme Lord but only on the level of Brahman because you want sense gratification. So the sense gratification becomes the basis of material life. And this is exactly what we need to cut off. As the story with the RG disco, then from being materialist, he just became spiritualist. Why? Because he engaged his senses, in which he wanted to dance, to do it in front of Sri Radha Gopinath. His desire to taste, he had Mahaprasad. And with the desire to see beautiful things, he saw the deities. Right? So that was a transformation. The activities remained the same. Dancing, eating remained the same. But now Krishna is in the center. So that became transcendental. One last point I would like to make is many times devotees, they are living two lives. One is in the temple, one is outside. When we are in the temple, we are devotional. When we are outside, we are materialistic. We don't know how to combine these two lives. But the thing is, if we only live the spiritual life, material life will be taken care of. It will be purified. I remember as a child, my father always made sure that I had tilak, kanti, shikha when I went to school. Did that mean that nobody would harass me because I have a shikha? No, they would harass me back and front. But the good thing was, those boys, when they are talking some nonsense in a group, which boys do, if I come there, they say, hey Chaitanya, we are talking garbage. Don't stay with us. Or they would say, hey, Chaitanya is here, let's change the topic. Why? Because I'm just dressed like a devotee, that's it. And I'm wearing my school uniform, your pants and shirt. But because I have tilak on, because I have kanti mala, I have the shikha, we cannot talk nonsense when this boy is around. So like that, I got protected by the Lord from getting into bad association. And at the same time, those boys also got protected from talking garbage. And it was easy, and because the temple was right next door, the difference between the school and the temple was a boundary wall. Many of those friends of mine who were like harassing me, they are now devotees, performing, chanting 16 rounds, following 4 regulative principles. So they just change of the center. Now Krishna is in the center instead of Maya being in the center. But the life remains the same. So we will end here. We have done 1, 2, 3 paragraphs today. Anybody has any comments or questions? We have 7 minutes.
Speak about competition.
Yeah.
In spiritual world there is also competition.
Yes.
In spiritual world is a reflex.
Is?
A reflex.
Yes.
Is opposite. In material world, the competition I want to win.
Yeah.
In the spiritual world, I want to please Krishna. If I find someone better than me,
Yeah.
I glorify. You show me the way.
True.
You're better than me. I'm so happy to find someone better than me because I can follow.
Yeah.
And this is not like this in material conception.
Yeah, Sri Prabhupada says, the material competition is there because of envy. We are all envious of each other. And that's one quality which doesn't exist in the spiritual world. You can be jealous. you can't be envious. Some Gaudiya Vaishnavas following, the path of Raghunath Das Goswami. They would never say the name of Chandravali Devi because she's a competition with Srimati Radharani. Biggest. So they would say no, because she's taking away Krishna away from Srimati Radharani. So Raghunath Das Goswami would never even say the name. There was his servant, Raghunath Das Goswami would take just 1 leaf cup of buttermilk every day. So his servant, he went to this village Sakhistali. And he saw these big leaves over there. So he made this, 1 cup of leaf. But the size of the leaf doesn't matter, no? So he brought these big leaves. He says, Gurudev, he says, where did you get this from? It's such a nice big leaf. Where did you get it from? He said, I got it from Sakhistali. Immediately Raghunath Das Goswami threw it away. He says, don't get me anything from there. Don't even go there. Because that village belongs to Chandravali Devi and she's always trying to take away my Krishna away from Srimati Radharani. So don't go there. But when there is Maharas happening, Chandravali Devi and Radharani are working together to create that rasa dance. Because that would give Krishna the most pleasure, as you said. So there is no envy involved. Mataji, you had a question? Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to, two questions I have, one clarification. Nishtha, when you said Nishtha, you're calling the detachment as a Nishtha?
No, attachment.
Attachment to Krishna or the material attachment?
Well, attachment to Krishna is Nishtha to Krishna. Attachment to material world is Nishtha to the material world.
So basically Nishtha is attachment. Another question is, when you were explaining about Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, so you said that when we perform Dharma, Artha comes on its own.
Yes.
And then when Artha comes, desires are fulfilled, and then when desires are fulfilled, Moksha. So is it a path or sometimes desires can be, if it is material, the desires can lose effect, right? So shouldn't it be a progressive path or we can just, skip that? Because desires can lose effect when we perform devotional service if it is a material desire, right?
Means, can't remember who said it, but it says you will only become a devotee when you have gone through every situation of life. You have been through all 8,400,000 species of life. You have been through every situation. Only then will you become a devotee.
So even the material desires may not lose effect.
No.
Only if it is fulfilled we will be able to attain.
Yeah, because Krishna mentions in Varaha Puran, he says, sometimes my devotee may not remember me at the time of death. Could be any reason. It could be the physical pain, the mental dilemma, the too much attachment to the family. It could be, anything. That he may not remember me at the time of death. But seeing what he has done throughout his life in order to please me, I still take him back to Godhead. So it may happen that when we are dying, there are so many attachments that we may have. So the attachments will not go away and it will not allow us to go back to Godhead. Even at the time of death. So that's why...
performed devotional services, accepted their situation and they have performed devotional services.
Yes.
And all that.
Yeah. Because one of the most important, the last anartha that leaves us is pride. Pride is the last thing to go away from our heart. The pride or the desire to be famous, because that's being pride. So that may be there. And because of that we may not go back to Godhead. So that's why sometimes devotees they leave their body in a very, very tragic situations. That's to just whatever is there, that little tinge or even the smell of that anartha being around, the devotees they leave their body in this kind of situations, which is very not necessarily very pleasing. But going through that situation destroys that anartha, and then we can go back to Godhead. So not necessarily that by the process of karma and before moksha, we have lived our life, full of pure devotional service. Like Bharat Maharaj, he was there, but then he got attached to the deer. He was on the level of moksha. He was on the level of bhava bhakti. But then he got attached to the deer. And that dropped him. And because of that, he had to take 2 more lifetimes. 2 more births. Just that attachment to the deer. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yeah, so what is our, I will take, there are many things in life, like examples that many people can relate, but I will probably take a very simple example, an example of parents, right, and children. Say for example, the children have a desire to do some studies, right, like it may not be spiritual studies, but it's karmi studies or something like that. So they have the attachment and they want to do that. So what as parents we have to do, like because that attachment is there, sometimes I feel that okay, this is desire. So let him fulfill that desire. Then he'll be free of it.
Yeah,
So is it our duty to operate like that, be in that mood as a parent, or like we should say that, oh no, that's not necessary, you don't need that, like just get involved in devotional services.
it depends what the child will take. Because if he needs to go through those kind of educational system, but keeping Krishna in the center, it's nothing wrong. And if he says, okay, forget it, I don't want to get it, I just stick to the devotional service.
Oh, okay, so then we are fine. Like, if I say forget, even, and I'm not taking my example, I just took a simple common example. So if we say that, okay, forget it, I don't need it, so we're still fine then.
Yena kena prakarena manaha Krishna niveshayet. Do whatever it needs to establish Krishna in your mind.
Get to Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, bro.
Thank you for class. Just bouncing off this conversation, I think I heard somewhere that eventually all souls go back to Godhead. It might take billions of lifetimes, or some it might take thousands of lifetimes, but eventually everybody makes it back home. Is that true?
Well, we are part and parcel of the Lord. Many Vaishnavas have mentioned this, that only 1/10 portion of the living beings decided to stay in the material world. 90% of the jivas were more intelligent. they chose the devotional service unto the Lord. And that's why Vaikuntha is 3 times bigger than the material world. Right? So we are only here because we decided not to be, a servant of the Lord. So as long as it takes us, well, eventually the whole material world is designed to take us back to Godhead. It'll happen. Yes, Prabhu.
I want to comment in this topic. In the beginning of ISKCON in America, Prabhupada makes some bicycle and some bicycle go.
Yeah.
I speak about one devotee after one time ISKCON going. And then they make again normal life. They forget completely about ISKCON. And his wife and son don't know about previous story of this man was Krishna. And then life is going on, while in the bed, going to the living body. And then when was her hand was ugly. When in one moment they come very light, smiling, and say, his wife was there, Prabhupada, you come to pick me? And then the wife here, Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, what is this? And then we begin to inquire, because in this moment they leave the body. And they find who is Prabhupada. There is one temple not so far. They go in the temple and begin to ask about his husband. They make an address, they become devotee. But something more in this story. When Prabhupada gave initiation, they said to his disciple, in the more important moment, I come to you.
Yes.
So every little step you go looking, Supreme Lord and his friend, you are saved.
Yeah. Thank you. You had some question, Prabhu?
Yes, maybe you should just speak a little bit about the Gajendra, because I heard 2,000 years he was fighting this crocodile. And why? Lord Narayana not help him. How?
Because Krishna can only come when you ask him. When the material living entity, he thinks he can do it himself. Krishna allows it. Okay? Draupadi is holding on to her sari. She thinks she can protect herself against Dushasana. It's the second most powerful Kaurava. So she thought she could protect herself from Dushasana. She was holding on to her sari. Krishna didn't come. She raised both her hands up. And then she called for Krishna. Krishna immediately appeared. So Krishna is waiting, like the Gita says. The bird is eating, he's there eating. Krishna is here. Krishna is waiting. Hey, look at me. Hi, ball. I'm here. Look at me. But he's eating, busy. Oh, this is not bitter. Oh, I'm almost going to get shot. Hey, can you help me out? Yeah, let's go. Hurry up.
So quickly.
Yeah, it's so quick. But Krishna is waiting. I'm sitting here.
And what I said before, Prabhupada not only help his disciples,
Yeah.
they also help the family.
Yes. So we will end here. Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Shri Vitthal Rukumai ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Bol.
लेट आने वाले भक्तों की जय। कृपया थोड़ा जल्दी आने का प्रयास कीजिए।
The Prabhu is requesting everybody to